Alright, let's get right into it. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're stepping straight into the tactical war room because there is one name, literally one player, who holds the keys to the entire upcoming summer transfer window, Victor Osimhen. Look, I've been in this game a long time, analyzing player movements and tactical evolutions for 15 years, and let me tell you right now, the decision Osimhen makes this summer is going to completely shift the balance of power in European football. Make no mistake, we are talking about a generational talent standing at an absolute crossroads. So we're going to break down the tactics, the data, and the raw ambition that's driving his next move. Let's dive in. It brings up the ultimate dilemma, doesn't it? Where exactly does a world-class talent go when he simply outgrows his environment? From what we have seen so far, you very rarely witness a physical adaptation quite as absolute as what Osimhen showed over in Italy. I mean, he didn't just play in Serie A, he completely bullied their center-backs, physically dominating them to deliver a historic title. And then, he transitions over to Turkey, and honestly, it's the exact same story. Back-to-back-to-back title runs for Galatasaray. He arrived in his prime, took absolute control, and delivered immediately. But, well, here's the harsh reality. When you dominate that easily, you outgrow the room. The Turkish Super League is fiercely passionate, no doubt, but an elite, ruthless striker eventually feels that serious itch for the absolute biggest stage. And look, there's a very clear reason his market value is absolutely massive right out of the gate. When you pull the data from Apex Real Sport, it shows us we aren't just talking about your standard penalty box poacher here. When we look at his elite goals per 90 combined with his dual win rates, he stands shoulder to shoulder with literally any elite striker in world football. That dual win rate is the key metric for me. It shows he is battling for every single ball, turning absolutely nothing into high danger chances. This isn't a guy who just waits around passively for service, he creates his own gravity. That unique blend of lethal finishing and overwhelming physical dominance is exactly why Europe's biggest clubs are preparing to write some massive checks. I say it all the time on this desk. Men lie, women lie, but numbers never do. You can debate a player's attitude all day long, you can debate whether they fit the vibe of a specific locker room, but you absolutely cannot debate the raw mathematics of goal conversion and physical output. The numbers Osimhen is putting up are undeniable. Period. But the real question we need to answer is, how do these modern numbers stack up historically? Section 1. Chasing the African Legends. Because listen, we aren't just talking about his current peers anymore, we're talking about legacy. We are taking Victor Osimhen, a player still very much in the prime of his journey, and mapping his goal to game trajectory directly against the completed careers of historic African legends, guys like Samuel Eto'o, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, and Didier Drogba. His output right now is right there with those finished careers. Eto'o had that ruthless clinical dominance at Barcelona and Inter. Drogba had the sheer physical intimidation, and Aubameyang had the explosive pace in behind. Osimhen is flashing distinct traits of all three of them. But, and this is a massive but, those guys cemented their legendary status by doing it on the absolute grandest stages, deep in the Champions League. To truly enter that elite pantheon, Osimhen has to take that next step. He absolutely needs this next marquee transfer to cement his ultimate legend status. Which brings us to Section 2, the tactical interrogations. So if he needs that big move, where does he actually go? We have to meticulously break down these fits. But before we look at the specific clubs, we have to define exactly what makes him so lethal in today's game. The modern number 9 is not just a big target man anymore. It requires clinical box presence, elite pace in behind, and, crucially, relentless pressing. It's that third pillar that really separates Osimhen from the pack. His pressing work rate is just astonishing. He actively hunts down center backs, forcing crucial turnovers against high defensive lines. When you have a player who is a major threat in the air, a terror running the channels, and acts as the first line of your defense, you've got a tactical unicorn on your hands. And that brings us to the great debate. The two primary destinations. On one side of the ring, you have Chelsea over in West London, desperately looking for a striker to unlock their playmakers. On the other side, you have Barcelona in Catalonia, searching for a post-Lewandowski pressing machine. Two massive football institutions, two completely different tactical environments. Let's start by breaking down Chelsea. If you've been watching Chelsea lately, you know their entire universe currently revolves around Cole Palmer. So how do you get the absolute best out of a creative, roaming number 10 like Palmer? You need a striker who can execute three very specific steps flawlessly. Elite hold-up play to absorb the center backs, quick, intelligent interchange around the corners, and the ability to drag defenders away to create huge pockets of space. We've seen glimpses of this blueprint with Nicholas Jackson doing a lot of the dirty work to unlock Palmer. But Osimhen? He is the absolute premium, finished, world-class version of that profile. He would take Enzo Maresca's system to a devastating new level. But we do have to talk about the psychological side of this move. The weight of the Chelsea number 9 shirt is infamous. It is a heavy, heavy burden. Following the legacy of players from Gianluca Vialli to Didier Drogba, all the way through to Aubameyang's stint in West London, it requires way more than just raw talent. It requires an ironclad mentality and guaranteed goals. A lot of incredible strikers shrink at Stamford Bridge. It just happens. But from my experience looking at Osimhen's swagger, his supreme confidence, and his sheer physical imposition, he is one of the very few players in world football who actually has the ego and the personality to carry the weight of that shirt and wear it with absolute pride. Now, what if we look over to Spain? Barcelona's tactical fit is equally fascinating. They have to start planning for the post-Lewandowski era right now. He is definitely more out than in at this late stage of his career. Barcelona needs a world-class presence up top. They need a striker who can drop off, link the play, and press relentlessly. But the real magic of this move is what I like to call feeding the blender. You've got Lamine Yamal on one side and Rafinha on the other. Highly vertical, incredibly dynamic, dangerous wingers. If you drop a striker like Osimhen right into the middle of that setup, a guy who loves to be fed and attacks every single cross with absolute violence, he is going to score a terrifying amount of goals in La Liga. The tactical synergy is just undeniable. However, and this is the critical ego check regarding a move to Barcelona, can he actually accept splitting the spoils? Can he handle not being the undisputed main star? Because if he goes to Barca, Lamine Yamal is the magic. Yamal is the golden boy. He's the one taking up the central spotlight. Osimhen would have to fully accept being the ruthless finisher at the end of Yamal's brilliance. Think of it like being in a rock band. Can you accept not being the frontman if it guarantees the group wins the Champions League? It's a formula that guarantees goals and trophies, for sure, but Victor would have to be entirely willing to put up with sharing the headline space. Section 3. The Arsenal Equation. What if there's a third option? Let's pivot over to the wildcard destination that the data models keep pointing us toward. Apex Real Sport ran the numbers on this, and they actually flagged Arsenal as their top recommendation. And honestly, when you break it down, it makes complete sense. You have this phenomenal cultural and tactical link-up waiting to happen with Bukayo Saka. The pace in behind, that terrifying physical threat in the box, it gives Arsenal a dimension they are clearly lacking right now. But here is the massive con you have to weigh up. The rotation. Mikel Arteta has a very crowded front line. You have Kai Havertz playing brilliantly as a false 9 right now. You have Gabriel Jesus waiting in the wings. Is Victor Osimhen, sitting at the absolute peak of his powers and market value, going to happily navigate a rotation policy? I highly, highly doubt it. He demands to be the undisputed focal point. So while the tactical fit is beautiful on paper, navigating those squad dynamics makes this one incredibly complex. Section 4. Ambition and the final verdict. We've seen the tactics, we've seen the data. Now we have to zoom out and look at the man himself. This mindset is absolutely crucial. He wants to be in those elite Champions League conversations. He wants his name up there with Harry Kane, Kylian Mbappe, and Ousmane Dembele. Now, Turkey is a beautiful destination. The sunshine, the Galata Tower, the absolute fanatical adoration of the supporters, it is a fantastic place to play your football. But setting up base there permanently, it doesn't put you in the Ballon d'Or conversation. It just doesn't. His ambition absolutely demands that he tests himself in the Champions League alongside world football's elite. He firmly sees himself in that top bracket, and the only way to prove it to the world is to go to a Chelsea, a Barcelona, or an Arsenal and conquer Europe. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought to ponder. Will Victor Osimhen pack his bags to conquer Europe's elite, taking on the heavy, heavy burden of the Premier League or La Liga, or will he choose to rule the Turkish Super League as an undisputed king? The choice he makes this summer is going to dictate the tactical landscape of European football for years to come. If you enjoyed diving deep into this tactical war room with me today, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more elite tactical analysis. We decode the beautiful game here every single week. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you next time.